The weight of words. The gym smelled of sweat, leather, and ambition. The air was thick with tension, as if each breath could ignite a spark. George Foreman, the 6'3" giant with over 100 pounds of muscle sculpted from steel, moved with the confidence of a man who had toppled empires. His fists were hammers, and he knew it. All around him, sparring partners lowered their eyes as he passed, as if they feared they would be crushed just by looking at him. It was then that Bruce Lee entered. It wasn't difficult to notice him. Even among the most experienced fighters, his presence was like lightning, fast, precise, impossible to ignore. At just 1.70 m tall and 70 kilos, Bruce didn't have Foreman's physical grandeur. But there was something about him, an energy that made even the strongest hesitate. His eyes, dark and sharp, didn't blink. His body, sculpted in fluid movements, seemed made of water and steel. Foreman saw him and smiled. A slow, almost condescending smile. "Hey, Chinese. Aren't you too small to be here?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. The other fighters stopped, waiting for the reaction. Some laughed, others held their breath. Bruce didn't move. He didn't frown, he didn't clench his fists. He just tilted his head slightly, as if he were evaluating a chess piece. Then he spoke. "George, have you ever seen a tiger worry about the size of a dog?" The silence that followed was heavy. The laughter died. Foreman blinked, as if he had been punched invisibly. It wasn't the answer he expected. It was neither a denial nor a justification. It was something more, a truth so simple and cutting that it hurt. Bruce continued, his voice calm, almost soft. "Strength is not just size. It's speed. It's precision. It's knowing where to hit so that the giant falls before he even understands what hit him." Foreman opened his mouth, but no words came out. For a minute, a whole minute, he lay there, frozen, as if something inside him had broken. It wasn't fear. It was something worse, the realization that, perhaps, he wasn't as invincible as he thought. Bruce smiled then, a quick, almost imperceptible smile. "But if you still doubt it, we can find out in practice." And with that, he turned and began to warm up, leaving Foreman there, in the middle of the gym, with the shadow of a doubt that would never leave him again. Final chapter, The Weight of Doubt. Foreman did not accept the challenge that day. Not the next one. For a week, he avoided the gym, even avoiding looking in Bruce's direction when they passed through the gym's hallways. But doubt, that one, followed him like a shadow. She was wrapped up in her thoughts as he lifted weights, as he ran on the treadmill, as he punched the sandbag with a fury that hadn't existed before. Every move was an unanswered question: am I really the best? On the 8th day, he returned. The gym was almost empty, except for Bruce, who was training alone, jumping rope with a lightness that made it seem like his feet were barely touching the floor. Foreman stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching. Bruce didn't stop. He didn't look. It continued as if the other wasn't there. "Are you going to stand there, or are you going to train?" he asked, without interrupting the rhythm. Foreman took a deep breath and walked to the ring. He climbed between the ropes, his muscles tense, his jaw clenched. "Let's see if your words are worth anything," he said, putting on his gloves. Bruce stopped the rope and hung it on the hook. He turned slowly, his dark eyes fixed on Foreman's. "It's not about words. It's about action." The first blow came quickly, a straight one from Foreman, carrying the full weight of his wounded pride. Bruce dodged it with minimal movement, as if he had anticipated the attack before it even happened. The second blow was a hook, but Bruce was no longer there. He counterattacked with a sequence of precise jabs, each one hitting spots that Foreman didn't even know were vulnerable: the shoulder, the rib, the chin. They weren't knockout blows. They were moves to teach. Foreman staggered but didn't fall. He recovered and charged forward with blind fury, trying to crush Bruce with his brute strength. But Bruce wasn't fighting a man, he was fighting an idea. And ideas can't be defeated with punches. By the third round, Foreman was exhausted. His legs were shaking, sweat was running down his face, and every breath was an effort. Bruce, on the other hand, seemed almost relaxed, like he was just waiting for the right moment. When Foreman let his guard down for a second, Bruce came forward with a roundhouse kick that hit his thigh, causing him to fall to his knees. "Get up," Bruce said, not cruelly, just a fact. Foreman complied, but something in him had changed. It was no longer anger that drove him. It was something deeper, quieter. He raised his fists again, but this time he didn't attack. He stayed there, waiting. Bruce nodded, as if he understood. "Now you are ready." And then, for once, Foreman didn't try to win. He tried to learn. The blows that followed were different. Less strength, more technique. Less hate, more curiosity. Bruce didn't knock him down again. Instead, he corrected his posture, showed him how to rotate his hips, how to breathe. Foreman took it all in, as if every word, every movement, was a piece of a puzzle he didn't even know he was putting together. When the workout ended, Foreman was sweaty, sore, but strangely light. Bruce took off his gloves and threw him a towel. "Tomorrow, we start again." Foreman held the towel, looking at the man in front of him. There was no longer any challenge in his eyes. There was no longer any doubt. "Thank you," he said, and for the first time, he sounded sincere. Bruce smiled, that same quick, almost imperceptible smile. "Don't thank me. You still have a lot to learn." And so, without another word, the two left the ring, leaving behind not just a fight, but the weight of an illusion that had finally been broken.